Hey guys, SeaMonkey here, and today I want to talk about New World. This is just going to be a thoughts and opinions video and hopefully give you a little bit of insight into the game right now in case you've been considering buying it. The game sits at a very reasonable price point of $40, which is 30% below the market average for new games across any platform. That combined with the countless hours you can realistically dump into New World makes this game easily worth it from a financial standpoint. I think Amazon intends to make up for the price point in their microtransaction store where they currently sell cosmetic only items. Initially, the cosmetics left a little bit to be desired, but we recently had a set of Halloween items that are actually pretty cool, and I went ahead and got myself a neat musket skin. By the way, the cosmetics last forever, you can swap them out anytime and put them on new items down the line too. I believe the exception to this might be the dyes, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I'll say the in-game shop isn't cheap, so bear that in mind. Nevertheless, it's a very fair price point in my opinion. At the end of it all, the game is definitely worth $40. Now, I don't want to get too far into graphics. You've seen New World videos and you can be the judge of that yourself. Clearly, graphics aren't what makes up an MMO as we've seen with RuneScape and World of Warcraft. Neither of those games were very visually impressive, but they saw massive success. For the sake of this video, I'm playing in 4K but downscaling the video to 1080p for the sake of not having to wait for long YouTube videos to process. Alright, on the gameplay side, this is really the meat and potatoes of it all. The gameplay in New World boils down to two simple aspects. There's PvP and PvE. So first I'll hit on PvP, and I'll apologize because I don't have a lot of PvP footage as I spent most of my early hours of the game just enjoying the experience and not focusing on making any videos. However, the first couple of days after New World launched really felt like what we were intended to feel in regards to actually both PvP and PvE. A lot of players, of course not everyone, but a lot, were leveling at somewhat of a consistent rate. Of course, there were the day 3, day 4 power levelers who hit level 60, but aside from that, you could flag for PvP and come across a couple of other people looking for a fight. Your level would be somewhat close, and it would maybe be a 2v2, a 2-on-1, something like that, but nothing really too egregious. Now, fast forward about a month after release, PvP is nearly non-existent. First, most players have an overwhelming majority of players in one single faction, and in PvP, you can only fight those players that are not in your faction. So chances are your server is probably dominated by a syndicate. That might not be the case for everybody, but that's the case for most servers. And again, sorry if that's not the case in your server, fight me. So if you're one of the two other factions, either Marauders or Covenant, your PvP experience would consist of almost always being flagged by yourself, just due to the fact that the other factions have much less players, and the limited number of players there are in those remaining factions aren't flagged. So you're out running PvP missions, and there's no one else in your faction nearby flagged doing the same, and you stumble across a group of 15 flagged syndicate members. They proceed to melt you and send you back to your camp or a nearby town and restart your PvP mission progress. You feel okay, so you decide to do it again, but the crew is just camping the town exits, and you realize you aren't going to complete these missions as long as these folks are online. The other situation players find themselves in is being anything other than level 60 and getting chased down by a player that is level 60. Now, the game is supposed to have PvP scaling in that you can have a balanced fight with a higher level player, but when you get two-shotted without so much as leaving a dent in the other player, adequate scaling is not the adjective that comes to mind. PvP scaling is either non-existent, broken, or terribly implemented. The benefits you have of flagging for PvP is a 10% experience increase, and it's the only way to complete the PvP faction missions, which there's still other faction missions that you don't have to be flagged for. So really the incentive right now is just a 10% experience buff. There's also wars to participate in, but unless you're among the highest leveled players in your server, or unless your server has a very low population, you're likely not going to be selected to participate in that battle. And this is the state of PvP currently and why it's so rare to see flag players anymore. I'm not going to go into solutions in this video, it's more intended just to give you a look at the game right now. Though of course we also have PvE. Now there's certainly plenty to do in this space. We have all the individual skills, i.e. mining, harvesting, fishing, smithing, armor and weapon crafting, tanning, stone cutting, jewelry making, and plenty more. Really, there's just a ton of shit to gather, refine, and craft. Personally, I feel for any of the skills that leveling from 1 to 100 is probably the most fun. You get a lot of new recipes to craft during these levels, leveling feels quick and rewarding, and the materials are plentiful and go a long way early on. Levels 100 to 150 feel pretty grindy but doable, and it definitely gets a bit less rewarding. And post level 150, it's just a straight up grind. It basically becomes work at that point, and essentially everything you craft gets salvaged because everything you craft holds almost no value. Now, as with anything, that's not always the case, but for the most part, it is. And aside from gathering and crafting, we also have expeditions, which are just dungeons or raids for any other game, and they have their own expedition gear that you can only get from that particular expedition. The dungeons are kind of fun, but they don't have anything that changes within them from run to run, so they do get kind of repetitive. A problem that I've found is having a lack of players wanting to run a particular dungeon that you do. Now, there's not that many dungeons at all, so it can be kind of disappointed if no one is running the dungeon that you're looking to do. Because that means if no one else is looking to do it, you absolutely cannot run it because you are required to find other players in your server to run it with. Now, in the PvE space, we also have corruption portals, or just portals for short. These are small events where players work together to take down the corrupted areas by defeating enemies or destroying the source of corruption. Now, these actually feel pretty good to do. It brings players of all factions together for one common goal, and everyone that participated in it gets a piece of the pie. Now, the piece of the pie might be shit flavored, but it's still pie. And I joke, but I actually enjoy doing corruption portals. The world map is also really big and there's plenty to explore, and after over 100 hours in the game, I still haven't explored half of the world map. In addition, each region has its own line of quests to complete in that area that get progressively harder as you complete them as well. The downside to the quests is that they get a bit repetitive in that they send you out to kill X bad guys and then come back and collect your reward and go back and do it all over again. Leveling in the game feels pretty solid as well until you hit a wall at about levels 25 to 30. At that point, leveling becomes slow and things start feeling the same. It's a burnout feeling that appears to be common in the community, but I find it easier to put the game down for a few days and come back to it fresh. You do get a rested experience bonus for putting the game down for a while, and that helps you catch up when you come back to the game, so that's kind of nice. In addition to these PvE elements I mentioned, the game also has companies, of which each has its own hierarchical structure, each rank with its own permissions. Companies can declare war on a town to battle for ownership, which in turn helps that company generate its own spendable tax revenue. You can also buy up to 3 houses for your character in different towns and choose either a small, medium, or large house for each of those. You can decorate your house with furniture, pets, seasonal items, and show them off to your friends or the community. And houses can also hold functional items such as chests that increase your max storage capacity for a particular town, or trophies that boost your skills. The game's fast travel system also comes into play here, so you can fast travel to each house once every 2 to 3 hours depending on the size of your house. And you can also check into a local hotel or inn at a town of your choosing and fast travel to that for free as well once every hour. That gives you 4 free fast travel points to use at any time as long as you pay your property taxes, so not actually free. The alternative is using a resource called Azoth, which currently has a max of 1,000 and can cost up to almost 500 Azoth to travel to different towns sometimes. Azoth is also used in crafting to help add perks and bonuses to different items. The problem here is that Azoth is not particularly easy to come by, so having to spend so much of it to fast travel or craft items makes it kind of a pain when you run out of it so quickly. Each server also has its own marketplace. The marketplace is split up for each town in that server, so you can only post items for sale or buy items from the town that you're actually in. Now, this creates localized economies based on supply of nearby resources and demand of resources based on what crafting stations are in each town. For instance, if you're in a town that has a higher tier stone crafting station and you're looking in the marketplace for cut stones, you're going to find a lot of higher tier cut stones because you have a high tier crafting station there that people are trying to sell stuff at. The more people you have selling that one particular good, the less valuable that one particular good becomes because there's a higher supply and a lower demand. Now, I do have mixed feelings about the marketplace because the market just ends up being a battle of the lowest bidder and who's okay losing money on their sale. And yes, you can actually lose money by paying to post an item for sale for less than you're selling it for. Now, there is exactly no purpose for doing this, as selling an item doesn't benefit you any more than dropping it on the ground unless your goal is to use the marketplace as a storage facility if you know no one plans to purchase your garbage. Now, overall, I really enjoyed playing New World from levels 1 to 30. I enjoy the harvesting and crafting, but I feel a bit burned out by needing tens of thousands of tier 1 raw resources to make a dent in my crafting levels. I wish quests rewarded you with more gold. I'd like to see PvP reworked and be more balanced or have efficient scaling, or maybe even reduce or eliminate PvP rewards for too large of groups. I'd also like to see more items to craft in the upper crafting levels so that grinding out those levels gives you more new things to craft along the way. I think the world design is very beautiful, the music is relaxing and very cool, and I like working together with new groups of people to take down corrupted portals or if I can, expeditions. I think servers should be meshed to bring lower pop servers together, and I'd like to see some world events like wars, but something a little more accessible to lower level players and higher level players alike, just to get more people into the game and participating. I want New World to succeed, and I want to be able to keep coming back and enjoying my experience. So hopefully we'll see some changes for the positive in the near future. If not, I do worry for the future of New World because I'm seeing a lot of negative feedback around the community. Hopefully I was able to provide you with a small look inside the game. Of course, there's much more going on that I could talk about, a lot of problems that I didn't actually address, and maybe I'll cover in a future video. But for now, I just want to thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'm CMonkey, and I'll see y'all out there.